The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their number one fan.
All right, Anthony, I'm going to give you the number one pick again, if you will. Who do you have after the big fancy voice guy introduces?
Number 1.
Craig, you're so nice and so kind. But for number 1, I'm going to go with Percy Butler. Huge reason because, the injury to Derek Forrest and also Jeremy Reeves. So this, a next man up mentality type of thing. And, he's the one who's gotten a little bit of experience playing in the post. But he's going to have an increased, workload. So all eyes are going to be on him as the last line of defense. And it's going to be interested to see, Quan Martin work his way in there. But I would imagine Percy to have the bigger role in the back end.
I would too. I would imagine that Cam and Quan are the two guys that are playing more in the box, and maybe even Quan exclusively in the box. Try to limit him. So I just want to take a minute to talk about the secondary. So you can take your trigger finger off of number 2 there. We're gonna be in the secondary for a while. One, I don't know how much difference there is in Percy Butler and Derek Forrest if they're both playing at their best. Derek's obviously got more experience. I think he's probably at this point I don't want to say smarter, but because of his experience, he's going to present as a more as a smarter player, and he's more physical. But Percy is super physical, and he's fast as hell at 4.3 speed that allows you to do a lot of things as a post safety. But you also have to know your assignments, and does he play as fast as that speed is a major question. Another major question I have is, was he one of the guys that Bears guard Tevin Jenkins was talking about when is Tevin Jenkins or Tevin Campbell?
Tevin Jenkins.
Okay, there is a Tevin Campbell somewhere, and every time I say Tevin Jenkins, I'm like, am I saying the right one? No, Tevin Jenkins. When he said, some of the safety rotations and things were kind of sloppy, one of the things that I've kind of stumbled upon the more I've talked about this is I wonder if some of Jack's play calling is kind of because he doesn't trust his guys. We talk about wanting to run more simulated pressures, for instance. Well, if you don't trust your guys to fake one thing and then do the other, or scramble back to their spots in zone, then you can't call that stuff. And so what kind of limitations does that put on Percy Butler, or does Percy Butler put on this defense from a playbook standpoint? These are questions. I don't know. This is not, sometimes I come to you guys with information that informs a take that's inside information because I've talked to someone or whatever it may be. This is not. These are the questions that I am wondering out loud about this defense on Sunday that I don't know that would ever get clear answers to, because defensive coordinators and head coaches and certainly players are not likely to share that kind of detailed information. With that said, I'm also wondering what the package usage looks like. I don't think, in looking too much at our list here, that I'm spoiling anybody later for our pick 6, but Quan coming in as a younger guy, Percy is a younger guy. How much does that affect Emmanuel Forbes snaps? Do they want, obviously they are looking to potentially take Emmanuel off the field some because of his own play, but how many young guys do you really want out there? And so when you go Buffalo nickel and Quan comes in, do you pull Danny Johnson on the field? Is that one package? Then you have your regular base nickel where St. Just in the slot and Forbes is your outside corner there. Do you decrease the amount on everybody's plate and have more guys rotating through? These are the kinds of things I'm wondering. We'll obviously know the answers as we watch. You're just going to have to pay close attention to figure it out. But there's a ton of questions with the secondary this weekend. The good news is, though, especially with how they've played so far, some of the answers, Anthony, could come up as a positive for the Commanders. They could play better, and frankly should play better with the 10 days off and hopefully a less prolific passing offense for Atlanta. The results certainly should be better. Whether they are better or not with Percy versus Eric Forrest, I think that's a very different question. But they certainly should look better this weekend.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2. All right, my first selection, our second overall in our pick 6, is John Allen. He is the guy up front that is underperforming right now. He is not playing bad ball, but he's not playing great ball, and you're paying John Allen to play great ball because John Allen is a great player. I think it's really important to be fair to John and bring up something that I don't think has probably been asked about enough. John certainly would never make any excuse for himself, and he might frankly run through Ron Rivera's office door and tackle him in his chair if Ron were to say this into a microphone. But John missed a ton of time in camp, and it gets swept under the rug because of when he missed it. He missed it at a point where he was no longer going to play in the preseason game. So he gets hurt in the second preseason game, or like right around it. Maybe it was the practice after that he misses. And you're like, oh, he's got a plantar fascia issue, which is a foot issue, right? He then doesn't play in the third preseason game, and he doesn't really practice until the week of the first game. He wasn't on the injury report. He hasn't been at all. But even if he's healed, he missed that really essential time to ramp up to the season from a conditioning standpoint. And he looks like a guy who is not quite the player that he was last year. So I don't know whether the foot is still bothering him or whether he's just, I don't want to say out of shape, but not in peak condition compared to these other guys. He's also played the fewest snaps of the four, who are all playing too many snaps. You've seen more Abdullah Anderson than you have John Ridgeway, or James Smith-Williams or Casey Toohill. But he's also the guy right now, schematically, that's getting a lot of one-on-ones. So, 5 blockers, 4 linemen, someone's going to have a one-on-one. And it's been John Allen more often than not, and he's not winning these one-on-ones. So if you want the D-line to go from playing like okay to great, he's the key cog in that. The other part of this equation, obviously, is how he plays alongside Chase Young. That seems like it's a work in progress as well. So, hopefully they can be on, like the communication is better between those two. They can get on the same page. Chase maybe plays co-star a little bit more, allows John to be more aggressive in his rush, really hit his moves and get up the field, and then Chase can cover for him if he loses and there's a gap there. But yeah, I think John Allen is super key to get his defense getting going, and a return to better form for him will lead to a better output for the Commanders' defense this weekend.
For sure, correct.
Number 3.
Coming in at number 3, I have Kam Curl, and part of the reason I have him in here is more so for, I think he's going to be out there with a lot of young and inexperienced, people in the back end. Kendall Fuller obviously has the most experience in the back end, and then after him is probably Kam Curl. So I just need Curl to, go out there and be an example, play fast, be able to make some plays. And that's one of the things that this defense has been lacking. And I think Kam Curl, he had a lot of those characteristics like as a rookie. So I want him to, get back to those ways of just playing fast and, being able to go out there and make some plays, because he's left a lot of plays out there. And against this Falcons offense, you got Bijan, you got Pitch, you got Jonnu Smith. You miss, a tackle against those guys, they can really, take us to the crib. So let's make some plays.
Well, he's also the number one. This is why I thought you put him on the list. He's their number one option guarding tight ends, one-on-one in matchups. Especially if Kyle Pitts lines up off the line of scrimmage, but even if he's in line, like Kam Curl, when they go man, is the guy that's going to have that matchup.
Yep.
Drake London's made some big catches this year. He's starting to emerge, but the number one passing weapon in this offense is Kyle Pitts. Hasn't really had monster games so far in his career. Last week was one of his better ones, but it's still like 7 for 89. So you talk about the tackling, like, okay, 7 for 89 is productive, but like you can live with that. Do not let it be 7 for 160 or 8 for 230 like DJ Moore was. But Kyle Pitts is that kind of athlete. Kam Curl's the guy that's going to be on him. So, and also like, can you punish him in the run game? Pitts. Can a guy like Kam like blow him off the ball? Good luck doing that to like a Jonnu Smith, but can you punish Kyle Pitts when he is out there as a run blocker? He's obviously gotten better at that because they coach it so well down there. But that's a job not just for Kam Curl, but for Cody Barton and Jamin Davis as well, and the edges. Hey, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, you see Kyle Pitts in front of you, get after it, boys.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Terry McLaurin. I talked at the beginning of the show about game flow and how the Atlanta Falcons want to play a slower game, fewer possessions, fewer plays. And the reality is the guy to most likely bust that wide open to make the Falcons chase the game because the Commanders all of a sudden are hitting big plays is number 17. They were able to pop De'Ami Brown open last week, and they missed that. Was that the Eagles game? Or was it the Bears game?
What, De'Ami?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bears. He had a low drop.
Yeah. Oh, and he had the drop at the goal line, too. Yeah, that was the Bears game. So, like, they've been able to pop De'Ami open. Jahan, obviously, is always a big play threat deep. Curtis is a big play threat. They had him, the one play they kind of had in the Buffalo game was the deep ball to him down the sideline. But, like, Terry is still that guy. And he not only can create big plays off of shots, but he's a guy that can take a slant and just be gone. And if you can get big plays from Terry McLaurin, that is a situation that benefits you from a game flow standpoint to make the Falcons feel the pressure to drop Desmond Ridder back and pass, which is the last thing they want to do. And to add a little bit of extra to that, Terry has had some nice games against Jeff Okudah back when he was with the Lions, his former college teammate. And Terry's had a couple days against old Jeff Okudah. So AJ Terrell's real good on the other side. We'll see how they match it up. But there seems to be favorable matchups. I mean, there's not that many non-favorable matchups for Terry McLaurin at this point in his career. He's that good. He's a true mid-90s Madden player, to go back to our exercise from earlier this week. The dude's awesome. But can you bust one or two big ones to really loosen up this defense and then hopefully open up things for the running game and kind of be on balance in the way that I think this offense benefits from the most? It's our pick 6 here on the Hoffman Show. We pick 6 players who we think are going to have a mega presence, hopefully in a Commanders win. We review this on Monday at 6 p.m., and we are off to our final 2, Anthony.
Number 5.
Number 5, I have Sam Cosmi down. And part of it is because he's the battle of the trenches is going to be one to, watch. In terms of, him having Calais Campbell lined up across from him. He's a savvy veteran in the league, 17 years. Like, he's been in the league for an extremely long time.
You're giving me shivers here, man. The last savvy veteran that Sam Cosmi lined up against was Fletcher Cox, and that did not go well.
It did not go well at all. And I just think he also kind of struggles against, somebody that's bullish and, wants to utilize the bull rush a little bit. So I'm going to be watching out for him. But also the other guard we have, Sadiq Charles, he has his hands full with Grady Jarrett, who's arguably one of the best defensive tackles in the league as well. So the guards is what I'll say at number 5.
Yeah, the Falcons play some funky fronts. They technically, like personnel on a depth chart, play a 3-4, but they wind up playing 4 down a lot. Logan and I were talking about this on Take Command, which we did not play this portion of the pod on the radio show. So if you want to listen to it, you can go listen to it on the Take Command feed, the way podcasts were supposed to be consumed. They wind up playing some really funky fronts, which present challenges for a young quarterback who has had trouble with protections this year. I mean, most of that stuff is on Nick Gates, but understanding like where these guys are lining up, who's responsible, how do you get your slides right? Where is Nick Gates helping? Is he helping on Campbell? Is he helping on Jarrett on the other side? But this Atlanta team does not have a lot of pass rush juice. The way that they get sacks is going to be good coverage on the back end, Sam holding the ball too long, and probably those guards losing one-on-one situations. So can you hold your ground? Can Sam get the ball out? And then what do you do in the run game? Like, those are big honking dudes that are hard to move, but can you get the right angles? Can you get things targeted in a way that you can be productive in the run game? Can you get them moving a little bit too? Like, I would try to get them moving side to side a little bit. Calais Campbell's 1,000 years old. He'd still could chase me down. Calais, you're a very large man who's very good at football. I don't know that you want to run quite as much as you did when you were in year 12 5 years ago. So I'm curious to see if Antonio Gibson gets some looks. Obviously, Curtis Samuel could get some looks to the outside, some jet sweep type of stuff. See what kind of bag that EB's got to bring to Atlanta after 10 days off, and a healthy dose of self-scout. All right, last but not least.
Number 6.
Am I really going to do this again, Anthony?
Uh-oh.
Last time I did this, I think it was last week.
You jinxed them?
I think I picked the punter against the Bears because I thought that the Commanders would be... Well, actually, no. I picked Jamison Crowder. I reversed it. I said Jamison Crowder because the Bears are going to punt a lot. Turns out the Bears did not punt a lot. I'm going to pick Tress Way this week, not because I think the Commanders are going to punt a lot, but because field position is important in a game with this kind of game flow. And the top, not 1, not 2, but 3, or as Anthony would call it for those watching on YouTube, 3. Got to make your 3s properly with the right fingers. Anthony is a middle finger, index finger, thumb guy for 3. As opposed to the rest of us normal people who use the last 3 fingers on our hand. Anyway, the point is not 1, not 2, but 3 of the top 3 coverage guys for the Commanders are unlikely to be in punt coverage this weekend. Jeremy Reeves out on IR. Christian Holmes, who's been fantastic as a corner in his year and change for the Commanders, is out this weekend injured. And Percy Butler, who's the other gunner, is likely out or is likely not going to play as much on teams because he's playing more on defense. And we'll see Quan Martin has been in that role some this year. He is playing more on defense. Could they call up someone like Tariq Castro-Fields off the practice squad? Sure. And some of these guys that are practice squad players are just not that great at corner, but are actually really good special teams players. But, your stalwarts like your James Smith-Williams who get down there and cover kicks, like those guys become really important. Your Andre Jones, and then whoever winds up at that gunner position. Do you see Mitchell Tinsley out there not on the inactive squad this week? So I'm curious to see how they do this. I mean, Bryson Tremaine was great in the preseason. Could you call him up for special teams purposes and just be really deep at receiver and still have Tinsley inactive, but you got a better gunner? I think they have options, which is good, but that is something to watch. And obviously the way to not have to cover kicks at all is just have Tress kick it out of bounds. So what do they ask Tress Way to do this weekend? How do they play this field position game? I think is a pretty fascinating subplot that hopefully isn't too much of an idea. Hopefully when we talk about this on Monday, it's like, hey, this is why we said it. Tress did his job, not a big deal, and we don't spend that much time on it, but something to watch for sure on Sunday. As you watch, assuming that you're not headed down to Atlanta for the game, you'll be hearing the voice of Tiki. Barber, CBS sports analyst, joins us next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.